It looks like the Trump, his influence, Department of Justice, the Donald Trump way of doing lawsuits, where he knows he either expects to lose or really has no intention of following through, is what the Department of Justice and Pine Bondi is doing with the lawsuits that are filed and the lawsuits that they're defending in courts. I figured it out. And I think that I figured out also a way for us to get over it. So it is a smart maneuver trick, and I'm seeing it as it plays out, and it all makes sense. But I also figured out how we can bounce back and fight against this strategy and tactic that is now coming to me. As I said in the car, this is another car moment when it's raining. It's the summertime in DC. It rains a lot, and I've been coming to you to do videos unraveling something that I discovered. So here's today's revelation. So he's been losing like about 90% loss rate in the district court level. He files an executive order that's unlawful, that violates the First Amendment, the 10th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, lots of laws. It violates the Administrative Procedure Act. And he immediately gets sued. And the people who were sued asked for a preliminary injunction or a temporary restraining order, which essentially asked the judge, because this unlawful thing is going to damage us, you have to pause it right now, stop it, which is an injunction. And what the courts look at is the harm. And they balance the interest. If the defendant says, well, if we stop it, it's going to hurt us, they may deny their preliminary injunction or temporary restraining order. And that is really just a temporary pause while the case goes forward. Because you all know lawsuits take a lot of time. There's exchange of documents, there's interviews, there's depositions, there's hearings, there's then there's actual trial, then there's deliberations. It could take years possibly. They do accelerate it, but it can take years. So what's been happening is a lot of time these courts have been saying, yeah, he's crazy, this is lawless, y'all are going to be harmed, I'm going to pause it. What he has gotten from the Supreme Court, a lot of people see he has a winning record at the Supreme Court, and they say the Supreme Court in his pocket. Kind of. What the Supreme Court is doing is when Donald Trump uses this emergency docket, which is like a shadow docket way of getting to the Supreme Court, because just like regular courts, to get to the Supreme Court, you have to do a trial, then go to the next level. But when you get to the Supreme Court, it could take years, even decades. So with the shadow docket, if it's an emergency, executive branch presidents can use it. However, Donald Trump is abusing it. Over the course of 4 years, Joe Biden used the emergency like maybe 14 times total in 4 years. Donald Trump has gone like 16 times. And the Supreme Court has granted it almost all the time. And he's won in terms of they agreed to pause, meaning when a district court judge says, yeah, you're crazy, we're going to stop this. The Supreme Court Commons lifted the stop, which essentially lets Trump do all the damaging things. Deport people, send folks away, deny people temporary protective status, fire folks, remove funding, all the things that he was doing that's unlawful. The Supreme Court's letting him do while the rest of the case works its way through. He's most likely going to lose. He's going to lose on the next level, and they're eventually going to get it. And they're letting him be lawless. And maybe that's all he wants, is because during that time, what happens? For example, he was able to essentially use a lawsuit to get Columbia to agree something, to get these law firms to agree to something, to get these companies to negotiate with him, because he has these lawsuits out there. And that's good enough for him, because he knows ultimately if those people fight, they will lose. For example, while Columbia and these other universities like Brown are like negotiating with him, Harvard's still fighting. You might have seen an article that says Harvard is about to negotiate. I don't have any evidence of that. And when he sued, he did these executive orders against Skadden Arps and Paul Weiss, and they settled and said, we're going to give you some free pro bono hours. On the flip side, Paul Weiss, Jenner Block, and Wilmer Hale, these other law firms were like, no, they fight and they win. I've seen when they win and the courts tell Pam Bondi to reverse all that nonsense you sent out, and I've seen it when they do it and they tell the court, look, we've done it. So there's the other side. You have some organizations and companies respond to his DEI, anti-DEI, by just giving up. So you have Amazon, and what is it? Target. Amazon said we're going to do it. On the other side, Meta said we're going to give up DEI. On the flip side, Apple says no, we're not going to. You don't have to. You have Target and Walmart saying we're giving up DEI, and then you have Costco saying we're not going to. We're sticking by it. And you have these, so the Columbia University and these Brown universities capitulating, and Harvard's not doing it. You have so you don't have to do it. You can fight. So he's just using the lawsuit to get people to come to the table, to get them to negotiate, kind of like what he's doing with the trade deals, going to threaten the trade deals. But none of the trade deals he announced, none of the tariffs that Donald Trump announced ways back ever been implemented, because he keeps pushing the deadline, pushing it back, extending it. He's just trying to use that to get people to the table. And so you see that's the strategy with the courts. Just do an executive order. You're going to get sued. Try to fight it. Try to delay it. In the alligator Alcatraz case right now, he drew a really great judge, Kathleen Williams. So she's a bulldog. She doesn't care. So what are they doing over there? They're asking her to change venue. Now, what did successfully get happen, because there's actually multiple suits out there, is they got to stop all the permits for all the other things. So the build out is stopped because they paused the permits until those people who ask for permits do their environmental studies. So that's on a state law, local basis. So the Trump administration said this case shouldn't be here, even though it's in Miami-Dade. They're saying the case should be filed where the decisions happen, in Tallahassee, which is the capital of Florida. It's bullshit. Like the harm is right there in Dade County. So she's deliberating right now. All of that is just, again, to buy time, because ultimately they're going to lose. That's a federal, everything about that is federal. He's supposed to do a national environmental impact study in order to get that done. But they know ultimately they may lose. But right now they're just trying to push it. They're trying to keep it going, keep the narrative going, keep the media, let people sell alligator Alcatraz things, deport people, make the MAGA feel like they're doing something. Ultimately, and if they lose, they can say, well, we tried, and it's the judges, and points and tell MAGA to go get after the judges. That's the whole Jim Boasberg. Jim Boasberg isn't going anywhere. This disciplinary request that Pam Bondi filed. The D.C. Court of Appeals, they're not going to have a disciplinary against the chief judge for something he said in a meeting in March. This is now July. This is just a freaking PR stunt. The same way when she said and made the announcement that Kilmar Abrego Garcia has to go back to face charges in Tennessee. And in Tennessee, the magistrate judges and the judges like, there's nothing here. This is just a rouge. It's stupid. You can go on bail and we'll see you January, because it's most likely this is a nothing burger. But they just make up stuff. They just say things. They just announce things. Make these big announcements for TV. They're playing up to the MAGA base. They're playing up to the media. Have no interest in knowledge or even awareness that they may even win these things. They just want to play up to it. Donald Trump does that notoriously. He right now has a case, the Wall Street Journal case. He drew this judge that Darren, Wales, I think is his name, Gales. The judge, the last time he went before this judge, he had sued Michael Cohen for some share of Michael Cohen's book, his former fixer, his former lawyer. And when it came time for Donald Trump to testify, he just withdrew the case. So what was all that? What's the point of suing if you're going to withdraw it anyway? It's because he never really intended to go follow through with anything. They just withdrew a case recently. There was a case, they filed a case against somebody who gave masks to protesters in LA so they can shield their face. This person, they got arrested, went to jail. The DOJ just dropped the suit. The MAGA wanted that person to be prosecuted. They were ravenous. They were like, prosecute them. It was all this news. It was Reddit stories, everything on X about them. And they just dropped it because the MAGA people aren't following through. They don't know. They don't care. But that's why you follow me. I'm JJ Legal. I'm in the dockets. So I'm helping you understand. So what I understand is that the strategy is not to necessarily win, because these are losers. Kentucky Brown Jackson said that you just want to do the unlawful thing, and you're never, ever going to come up to Supreme Court. A lot of times, they never challenge on substance. A lot of times. Because on substance, they know they lose. And they know they don't want to go up on substance or lose on substance. They want a procedural pause so they can continue to be lawless. That's my thought for today. What do you think? Oh, and the rain stopped. No, it's still going. Let's talk below. JJ Legal, each one teach one.